channel. Bit of a discussion video today, and one that I've been kind of mulling over in my head over the past couple of weeks and months around what I see as perceived value or reasons why you should get involved in the star rating business, and ultimately why I've decided just to give it up. Hi, my name's Chris, and I'm here to talk today about star ratings. Now, I kind of think that a lot of people might have very different views in this, so this is more, rather than me saying this is what you should do, this is the right thing to do, let's start a discourse about this and actually see whether star ratings are doing, I think, what they purported to do. So let's start with what I think the problem is. I was recently having a discussion with some friends actually about films and about trying to create our top 100 films list, just as a discussion point to kind of share between ourselves and do that. And I thought, God, this will be easy. I log and star rate everything that I watch on Letterboxd, and so trying to create a top 100 films actually as a starting point should be fairly easy. I'll go on to Letterboxd and sort by star rating, and I jump at my top and favourite films I've ever seen, and then it'll just be a case of putting them in some sort of order. Easy, you might say, except when I did that, didn't get my top films list at all. In fact, I got sort of a curated list of accepted, classically, brilliantly well received films, followed by my favourite films down below. The things that I hold near and dear to my heart, the things that are slightly imperfect, but that we love even more for their imperfections, the things that we like to revisit, the things that we get more out of when we discuss them, when we create a discourse about them, without just accepting that this is brilliantly made, this is brilliantly cast, this is brilliantly written, this is brilliantly shot. Because ultimately, that what we are scoring there are different things than what we consider to be our personal connection with a piece of art. Now, for you, you might be able to discern actually your emotional connection with something far better in a star rating than I do, but I know from speaking to many others that this is also a commonly held view. Is this even a problem? And here is where my background is in maths and teaching maths, even rudimentary maths. I think a lot of people will understand it's the scale of small and the scale of large numbers. So if you have a really popular film, say The Shining, we're just finished horror season here, The Shining, if I go into any aggregate site and look at the average score for that, that is based on thousands and thousands of ratings and reviews. So actually, when you scale things up really, really large, aggregate scores like this are quite effective in determining whether something is considered good or not as good or otherwise. If you want to delve in further, Letterboxd and IMDb, etc., all have user reviews in there. So if you have consumed a bit of art or the piece of content, then you can go in and see why people thought that or why you might have thought differently than them. The other part of but this is wrong, and it's actually part of the problem that you have with Likert scales like this and with 5-star rating scales, is that a lot of people don't ascribe to both extremes in the spectrum. So a 1-star review and a 5-star review, depending on your type of person, you may feel that this is very hallowed ground. Something would have to be completely egregious or be completely overwhelming to score either a 5-star or a 1-star. And in certain aggregate sites like Letterboxd, you could put half stars in, and so 4.5 stars is effectively the top mark for a lot of people. 2 stars is effectively the lowest mark that a lot of people will give, and they fall quite easily through that. It's the law of averages. There are lots of experiments that I do within my classroom to show people how general averages or aggregate averages actually influence our ability to reason and think. And, you know, there's lots of experiments out there to do that. And if anybody's interested, I'll put a short together and I'll show you an example. So if we're not using either of the extremes, then we narrow the field from a 5-star to basically a 3-star rating at that stage. But that actually creates a problem, and especially in the book market. As I've got to talking to many smaller independent authors or people that rely very heavily on ratings in order to generate interest or sales for the book, we actually have a pretty substantial problem. And that is when you're dealing with small numbers of reviews, especially when you're starting off, it does not take very much to throw the aggregate score way off. Here we have a book that is just about to receive its 4th review. It's 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. These could be 3 strangers that have read this independently. It could be 2 family members. It could be 2 family members, a friend. It could be what, you get the idea. You don't know anything about these reviews at the start, but the person that comes along has read the book that they've seen the 5 stars for. They start to read it and they decide, actually, I don't think this is 5 stars. I've got to balance this out. This book has annoyed me. I thought it was going to be 5 stars. And I don't think it's 5 stars, so what am I going to do? I'm going to give it 1. Now we have 4 ratings. We went from a 5-star average down to, well, something that's 5 stars at all. And all of a sudden, this falls below what is commonly accepted as the metric for generating sales or being on a list somewhere. And if somebody comes along afterwards and rates it even lower than that mark again, even a 3-star or a 2-star, and a 3-star, remember, in Goodreads terms, is a good, enjoyable read, then this is falling further down the pecking order. What the hell is all this about? I have even done this myself. I've given star ratings for a book and written a review below it, and the author, despite what I've written down below to say that I enjoyed it, all they feel is disappointment in the star rating, because the feedback that they really are being measured on, they're being used on. And so it didn't matter what I wrote in the written review. The 3-star or aggregate didn't detail the complexities that went into picking that number. There are a lot of reasons why we can pick our number value that we're going for, and it starts with this: no matter who you are in life, no matter what you're doing, you always have prejudice and bias. You may think that you're the most open person in the world. You may think that you're just a blank page as far as it goes, but you are always biased. What do I mean by this, Chris? Well, we all grow up in different ways and in different cultures. The colour of our skin, our sexuality, who we were speaking to earlier on that day, rebelling against things that we've seen that day, our pithy mood, the amount of sleep that we've had, the amount we've had to eat, the quality of the food that we've had to eat, how much money we have in our pockets, the well or not well, the people around us. All of these things play into a state for you consuming any piece of content. So if everything's great and you read a book and it fits your mood, then absolutely you're going to be predisposed to give it a higher rating. If, however, you feel that that book brought you down from a certain place or went into a general disaffected state of creating the mood, then you're going to think more negatively about that. Or even, to give an example, to say, well, I was feeling great when I started this book or this movie, and I feel so now. It's sort of the book's fault for making the quality of my life less. It was well written. It was very effective in what it tried to do. But ultimately, you know, it was a bit of a Debbie Downer. Great book, well written, 4 stars, 3 stars. You get the idea. The bias and prejudice that you take to judging any piece of content will ultimately reflect in the score. The number that you pick at any given stage or when you finish could change depending on the time of the year, could depend on the way that it was written, could depend on your access to technology. So many things affect it. So why are we hung up on this ultimate star rating? Ultimately, this star number or rating is reductive. It's something that signifies a time and a place and a feeling at a point. I can't tell you the amount of films that I've hated for many years, went back and revisited, and went back and considered it now one of my favourite pieces of content. That's fine for movies that you can watch in an hour and a half. If you're talking about a book or you're talking about a full TV series, so who are these star ratings for? When you've got big numbers, that works great. If you've got small numbers, this is not a fair way to do it at all. We are not professional critics. You may disagree with me on this and you may think my opinion is my honour. For me, as somebody that fumbles about in the dark to describe what they are emotionally feeling on a day-to-day basis, and that actually whose feelings change over time, that star rating doesn't make any sense for me. What can I do to change or help this? The first thing to look at when you're rating any piece of content, I think for me as advice, is to look at the number of ratings that there are. If it is a small number of ratings, don't be completely trashing the rating then either. If you feel like you must rate, and certainly when you finish a book in Kindle, it asks you to rate it in some way, shape or form. But if you really want to rate it, don't trash the rating. That'll take 4, 5, 6 other people to remedy what that is for you. Write the written review for it, as it will come to. If you enjoy the book, the movie, the TV series, whatever it is, flag it as 5 stars if it's a small number of reviews. What you're saying is, this is interesting enough to warrant exploring. It's not a waste of your time. If you feel a book has been read and it wasn't a waste of your time, that 5 stars ensures that somebody else might read it and give it a piece of time. And if you're worried about people taking your word for something, then actually your word has been taken as value because you found value and worth in the time. If you feel that it has issues or otherwise, then you can write the written review for it, you record a video review for it, give some sort of verbal feedback. You can even send it directly to the author. Give them constructive feedback if you really feel that it's something that you want to do. What you want to do is create discourse based around your experience, surely. And star ratings, like I say, are so reductive in doing that. We read, we love words, we love language. Why would we let star rating be the communication of that rather than all the wonderful use of language that we have at our disposal? The discourse be based around the details, not around the aggregate. If you completely disagree with me, that's what this is all about. It's about creating that kind of discourse. What are your feelings on this? And actually, I'd love to hear them, especially if you disagree with me, if you feel that it is your duty to rate these things as a way. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time on the channel. Take care.